Hallo, kann man mich gut verstehen?
Can you hear me? Good morning. So, I'm going to deliver a speech from my experience. It was about how we gave birth to Bionade and all that has happened in the following 25 years. Why is it important? Why is innovative power so important? Why do we need entrepreneurs or companies with agency? I come from Bavaria. I am a brewing engineer. I've been living here in Berlin for 8 years now. The starting point was, well, we ran a small brewery in the region, Hessian region of Rhön, in a very bad situation, financial situation. My mother had inherited it in a very shaky condition. We didn't want to close it down altogether. We wanted to develop for the next generations a business model that would be sustainable. Therefore, we came up with the idea of a brewed lemonade. And we thought, well, it's a good fit for the times we are living in. We didn't want to go it alone. We wanted something like a regional idea as a basic concept. We wanted to join hands with so many small breweries. We wanted to develop a sort of franchise concept. So this idea took almost 10 years before it became implemented, because we worked about the nitty-gritty detail and the inner workings for a long time before we went out to suggest it to other breweries. After 10 years, we finally pulled it off. Bionade could be produced in a repeatable way, in a standardized way. And then we thought we would have to find someone who would enter into an alliance with us, but we neglected the brewery, and we had spent so much money on the design and development of the lemonade, only to realize that 10 years afterwards, not a single other brewery was willing to enter into an alliance with us, which was a nasty situation. We were heavily indebted, 3.5 million Deutsche Marks in debts. There was no BAL agreement or regulation, no rating. You just had to talk to the CEO of your bank. So we started out. Then we tried to give birth to the idea of a healthy lemonade for children. So the problem is obvious. We need a distributing partner. So we finally found a distribution partner. It was a well-known company at a distance of about 60 kilometers from our seat. We had been in exchange continuously because we also sold their mineral water to our clients. So it was a friendly company. Well, you are a brewery. They told us, okay, we cannot do anything. And then we said, why don't we set up a new company? Let's establish a new company, and we will take out a share, and you will get a loan. And then we said, if that's the only possibility, we'll go that way. Unfortunately, on the very day in which we traveled, went to the notary public, when they would receive 40%, we 60%, supplier of the brewery filed for bankruptcy at the local court. Unfortunately, he was the best friend of the owner of the mineral water company. I try to forget about all the names. If I have a slip of the tongue and utter any name, these are wrong names, so forget them. So we were sitting in the Egon. We were sitting in the office of the notary public. Egon told me, I've just rang him up. We are not going to do this with a 40-60, but we will get 51% and you will get 49% for a loan. Then we said, but that was not agreed. Then you said, okay, let's abolish the whole project. There were three of us, my brother, I, myself, and our mother said, okay, let's do it that way. So we left the notary public's office and did 180,000 Deutschmarks of loan, and we were the owners of 49% of the stakes in this newly established company. Bionade grew well. The company with which we had entered into a distribution alliance couldn't pull it off. Bionade, however, went with very great success. So we sold in substantial quantities, and the distribution partner was happy. We said, Egon, well, we have paid back the loan. What about your share? And he said, let's continue working together. We knew Egon well. If Egon says we will pull it off, we will do so. Bionade grew, and it became as big as Fanta. We had paid off all our debts. As a brewery, we had decent company cars. For the very first time, we paid a salary to ourselves. Something happened totally unexpected. Egon went bankrupt. Egon filed for bankruptcy. And we said, well, a certain Manfred, only first name, Manfred presented himself as risk manager of the banks. And he said he is the sole interlocutor. And Manfred told him, Peter, let me tell you right away, it's our objective to sell off this stake to rehabilitate the entire company's indebtedness. Great. We are going to buy it out. We will buy this share. Manfred said, well, send me your offer. We had a good friend with Deloitte, and we submitted a good offer, 10 million euros. And Manfred said, we need not 10 million. He said, we need 100 million Deutschmarks. Well, who is willing to pay 100 million Deutschmarks for something that's worth 10 million? Oh, very easy. Let's just increase the prices. What? Increase the prices? Well, then he's presented this idea. The banks had the idea to carry out a price increase by 30% year on year. We sold about 200 million bottles. A 30% price increase would have increased our revenue 10 cents more per year, so 20 million Deutschmarks per year. That would be 100 million if he sells it. And I told him, these are no longer 200 million bottles sold if we increase the prices, the purchase prices by 30%. It's idiocy. I hope that there are not so many bankers here today. Well, they came forward with a joint analysis. They ran a test in Freiburg. How many customers would pay the increased price? Half of the customers would pay the increased price. And so they decided with 51% of voting rights that they would push this through. Unfortunately, from 200 million bottles, we plummeted to 80 million bottles in 1 month. So in 1 month, we went down to 1/3 of our annual turnover, 100 million. Well, they had gone through the chimney. So this idea to sell the same product at a 30% higher price. So then they came up with the following idea, but I understood it only afterwards. They said, okay, if we cannot get this amount for 51%, we will be looking for a partner who pays this price that we desire for all the assets, they enacted some mechanisms. And the new interested party to who we were also presented, a new partner, and they wanted us to sell 70% of our assets, so as to enable this deal. And we said, we are not nuts. Then the banker, the Manfred, said, we anticipated this, but well, you are the managers in this distribution partner. With this attitude, you put this sheer existence of this distribution company at risk, so we have the right to no longer invoice you, but you have the right to deliver your products. And we said, that's utter bullshit. What is that bullshit? We received mails, letters every day, and the appointed clerk of the court came up again and again, and they managed us. Then they said, okay, 70%, that's a fantastic idea. Let's do it. Which was at the beginning with a new partner, who was quite an idiot. This start, an idiotic start. What did it mean? So I do not know. This here was the company. They were the owners of this mineral water company, 51%, 49%. We owned the patents. We were responsible for the filling. We owned the rights for the international distribution, apart from Germany. The new partner said, okay, 70%. 70% of those assets that I have encircled here. That's how we slipped into this new partnership. We said, it's great, yeah, let's do it. It's super. And for a very long time, we discussed with this company on how to get Bionade out of the doldrums. Bionade had an image problem. We didn't generate any major sales, so the whole business model was down. How can we get Bionade into going again? We differed. We were at odds with each other. What about advertising commercials? We had on RTL2 a Bionade spot with Kemper. We said, well, let's abolish PT bottles. So these were two worlds that could not be reconciled. Not worlds, cultures, a clash of cultures. These two cultures were not a good fit. So we said, okay, there's no good joint strategy. We will suggest another strategy. Our idea is you get out of the whole company. We will transform Bionade into a cooperative in the ownership of the clients. You will get the money out. We talked with the DZ Bank. The whole concept was worked out in great deal. This other corporation told us, we are going to think it over. We will get back to you. After 1 week, they got back to us and said, we won't do that, but we have a new idea. You go. We said, we will not go out of our own company. And they said, no, you must go. You must exit your company. Now everything that we have financed is in debt capital, and we decide now the transformation in stock. We had 30 million of indebtedness. If you cannot pay out 9 million, you have to go. So we somehow managed to realize it. 3 weeks afterwards, we had exited our own company. We received practically nothing in return. First, they didn't want to give us anything because it was worth nothing. We said, if we do not get anything, We have the worst and the most vicious PR agency that we can find. And then they said, okay, you will get something. My brother and together we received 3 million euros. My mother didn't get a thing. My stepfather, who was the holder of some patents, sold them. So we exited our own company. What I found so interesting, Bionade had to go. The corporation sold off this product, and the soul left the company together with us. So that was a quick run through of those 25 years. Thank you very much for your attention. I'm happy to take your questions. Oof. It's a painful story to hear. Yes, it was really idiotic. It was a nasty feeling. Unfortunately, we don't have so much time. I'm not going to ask you about the pains. You may ask him directly in the break. But among other things, you also signed this petition for the creation of this new legal entity called Verantwortungseigentum, steward ownership. Well, what prompted you to do so? Well, what I realized was that independence, or let me rather put it like this, agency, the power to act, are the main drivers to stay creative and innovative, to stay this course that prompted you to set up this company. This impotence, this loss of agency. We were totally lost. And you need to counter this feeling of utter impotence. And well, the normal or investors are not interested in long-term ideas that quite often are not reconcilable with entrepreneurship. We must stem this tide. And that's what I would call agency. That's why I like steward ownership. Would you set up Bionade in steward ownership? Yes, of course. Very good. Very good. Thank you very much.